Hello Spark fans, welcome back to Advancing Spark for one of the last videos of the year where we're doing another Databricks news roundup. Now I appreciate I was away at conferences and things, we didn't get to do one for November, so we're going to cover both November and December all wrapped up into one tasty little package today. Now there's not a huge amount to talk about, honestly. Things have kind of slowed down for the end of the year. There's a few different bits and pieces, there's some UI improvements, there's a few tweaks. The Databricks Terraform providers had like 3-4 continuous updates, but apart from that, there's nothing particularly crazy. So we'll have a step through, we'll talk through what it means, but that's about it. As always, if you are new around here, don't forget to like and subscribe. Let us know down in the comments what you've been looking for, what you've been waiting for, why you're looking out for news, what do you want to know about. And then, yeah, the only other bit of news really is obviously I've been out all this week just recording. That's why I look tired. I've just done a mammoth run of 15 different self-paced labs for the new training course that Advancing Analytics are releasing in January. So if you don't currently do much Spark, if you want to learn PySpark, you want to practice reading data and transforming and joining and window functions and regex and just really learn how to work with data in Spark, then this course will be for you. It is self-paced, so that'll be coming as a bit of an e-learning platform with quizzes and labs and hands-on stuff. That is all coming in January, my Christmas project. So yeah, look out for that. And enough selling my wares. Let's talk about the Databricks release notes. Let's see. So as always, I'm in the Azure release notes. So if you're in AWS or GCP, do check out the cloud specific ones. They're largely the same, but if there's any specific integrations, you'll see those specific ones in your own flavor. And then, yeah, we'll dive into each of the months, November, then December. We'll go chronologically upwards so we can see it as it happened. And we can talk about what actually happened there. So let's see what is going on in the world. So search for tables in Unity Catalog is GA. I mean, great, because having a data catalog and not being able to search is frankly ridiculous. So it's a great feature. It's really nice to be able to just find all the tables. I did it as a little customer demo the other day. And yeah, it's just great. Expected. It's like the minimum thing you expect from a catalog. But it's great that you can then just sit there and go, show me all my tables. It'll show me anything inside your catalog that relates. And then you can dig in and see all the Unity catalog stuff. Lineage especially, which is great. I mentioned Terraform providers had a load of updates. So we've got the first of our many, many updates. Again, it's more just adding more stuff into that provider. So adding the ability to add in the runtime engine, adding the other bits and pieces, the path. And we'll go through. But again, I'd say if you're using the Terraform provider, I would say have a look at that changelog and just dig through the changes, because there's been so many changes recently. It's worth just getting up to speed with everything that's going on. You can now search for jobs by name in the jobs API. So if you're doing lots of crawling back giant piles of things and you want to be able to programmatically filter based on the name, useful. Depends how much you're doing programmatically with the jobs API. Upload data. So there's a couple of things with the upload data UI. So you can now overwrite existing files, or you can chuck multiple files at it. Now, again, this is going to load a Delta table for you, which is great. You can be a little bit careful about where you're using this. So if you're not using Unity Catalog and you just do this, it's going to put the data into DBFS. That is the little local storage that Databricks uses, and that is awful. It is bad. Do not do that, because that's essentially keeping your data just in a random bit of blob storage, not keeping it in a lake where it's visible to other parts of the organization. It can be going under your, your data security, your data oversight. Put it in DBFS, generally not good. If you're using this with Unity Catalog and you're going to put it into its default metastore, well, that's going to be a lake. In Azure, that's ADLS Gen 2. That's probably okay if you're happy having managed tables. So good things, good features, unless you're not using UC yet. Okay, nice user interface thing. So access your recent objects from the search field of the top bar. So just to go back to what you were previously working on. Nice, useful. That's just helping you navigate a little bit quicker. You can specify cloud location in Unity Catalog for managed tables at the catalog and schema level. So this is, again, the same topic we're just talking about. If you create a table in Unity Catalog and it's a managed table, then that's going to create it inside the Unity Catalog metastore. But previously, it'll just decide where it puts that table for you. So you can organize all of your nice SQL objects via catalog and tables, and then put a security model over it. And then you look at your data, and you've just got a giant pile of data tables. Whereas now we're saying, well, actually, you can give a cloud storage location. You can break things up a little bit. You can have a bit more fine control when you're doing managed tables at catalog and schema level. So you can say, well, actually, all the things in this catalog, you put them in this area. And that might be your UC managed lake. Might be somewhere else. Just gives you a bit more opportunity to manage these things. You'll be able to do the same in SQL statements soon. Now, this was in November 18th, and we'll see another update about that coming shortly. Okay, another update in the Terraform provider. So we're seeing warehouse types allowing you to manage your SQL warehouses. That's the Databricks SQL variant of your Spark cluster. You can now do that via Terraform, and there's more configuration you can do inside there. So you can do different types and additional things in there, which is great. Serverless SQL, so another region rolling on to the serverless SQL preview. So you can now do that in the West US region. So if you've been waiting for regional availability for Databricks SQL serverless, that's getting a bit better. So West US is now supported. Another provider in the Databricks Terraform provider going up to version 1.6.5. And again, adding query plans. So you can just do a little bit more in terms of your visualizations if you're managing more of the Databricks SQL side of things. So just more stuff. Again, check the changelog. There's lots of these little files and things. It's worth just having a look at all of the different attributes that have come in since. Okay, so sparse checkout, allowing you to work with huge, big repositories, but I'd say I just want a bit of the thing checked out. So that's another thing that you're working with in Databricks repos. Databricks repos did have complaints when it first came out that it couldn't handle massive repositories. And so they upped the limit several times, going, okay, you can have more files. Okay, now you can have more files and it's bigger, more files and it's bigger. And now they've got to a point saying, okay, look, if you're going to be trying to pull out some notebooks that are part of this massive monolithic mono repo, actually, why don't we just say, check out this small section of it. Check out this folder subsection of my repo, and then it doesn't bother doing a pull of all the files that aren't related, and it should be a lot more efficient. So take a look at that if you've been struggling with the limit sizes of Databricks repos. But also, why are you using a mono repo? Come on. Cool. So more things. So Partner Connect, we've seen Partner Connect kind of in the release notes of new partners rolling onto it. So again, it's now people who are actually sort of using Unity Catalog rolling onto Partner Connect to show these different ways of integrating with UC, which is cool. We can now stop people from uploading data. So if you are one of those people who are not on Unity Catalog and people are going, oh, this is great, we can now upload even more data into DBFS, you can now stop them. So you can now just disable and go, can we please stop people just uploading random data and make them put it in the lake in a controlled area in a sandboxed place where there's controls around it? Good. I do like that button. It's a good button. Okay, so you can now do Azure Storage Firewall configuration to allow Databricks serverless access. So when you're using Databricks SQL serverless, those machines no longer exist inside your workspace. They're existing in the Databricks control plane. So the whole question is, if you've got your lake heavily networked, it's all VNetted, and you were previously using Databricks VNet injection to control how they see each other, and then you're suddenly saying, well, these are serverless, they're no longer in your VNet, how do they talk to each other? That's what this is trying. This is like the first thing of starting to put in the functionality to fix that. So you can now configure Azure Storage Firewalls to allow access from the serverless SQL warehouses, so you can still have some security in your lake and still allow things to come in. How that works with wider networking and custom VNets and all that kind of stuff, don't know. But at least it's starting to see some of the security features for Databricks SQL Serverless coming in, so we can start having a play, which is really, really useful. Okay, we've got a new runtime. We'll take a look at that runtime separately. So that is runtime 12. Now, I was really confused because I saw 11.4 appear and then disappear and get renamed as 12. So we have runtime 12, which has since gone GA, and we'll have a look at that. And then finally, we've got enhanced notifications for Databricks jobs. So rather than just kind of, the thing pings up, if you want to be able to use webhooks, you want to be able to put things in Slack notifications, that kind of stuff, a little bit similar to how in Databricks SQL you've got alerts. If you want to have that kind of notifications in a Databricks job, there's more stuff we can do with it now. So it was just, you can email when it runs. Now you can webhook and do some cool stuff. Very cool. So that's November. So lots of UI things, a couple of security things, loads of Terraform things, but not huge amounts, not huge new things that we're seeing as we start to slow down for the end of the year. Let's switch into December, and you can see the list is even less. Again, we've not finished December. People are working next week. So more partners joining the Partner Connect. So you can go and have a look at scales now on there. And there's a new ODBC and JDBC drivers. So if you're connecting not via one of the packaged kind of Databricks connector for Power BI, etc., and using either JDBC or the ODBC, this is how you connect into Databricks. So be able to go and see that. So there's new functionality around the JSON parser libraries. So you can go see some of that. I've not had a look into what the Jackson basic thing is, but it's a library update. And it looks like there's some things with Cloud Fetch. So when you're using Cloud Fetch, that's essentially when you run a query, Databricks starts giving the data back and goes, whoa, that's really, you're asking for lots of data. It'll dump some data into local storage, send a temporary token over, and allow you to query from that local storage and from Databricks in parallel, which is much faster. Now, it sounds like it used to send out some things into the driver log with some of these signed URLs to give you access to that data. That's not cool. So they've now fixed that, which is good. They're now redacting any sensitive data from going into the driver logs for when it was doing Cloud Fetch only. And same idea when it's doing the same thing on the ODBC side, which is good. And there is release notes. You can go and dig into that if you care. Lineage in Unity Catalog is now GA. So again, we did a video on this. You've now got the column level lineage, which is really cool, but it's now GA, so you can use it in anger, and it's got support SLAs and all of that good stuff. So Unity Catalog, again, getting more mature, more functionality, and the column level lineage is really actually quite cool. And since I did that last video, so when I made a video, the UI was a little bit funky. I'd expand a thing and then the UI would go out of alignment. That's now fixed. So it's getting fixed that quickly that I did a video last week, and the thing I found is actually already fixed, already tidy. The UI is now nice and robust and solid. So go check out that video if you've not watched it yet. And yeah, have a play with Unity Catalog Lineage. It's really actually very cool. Okay, we can now do SQL to specify schema and catalog. So in November's release notes, we saw that in Unity Catalog, we can say, actually, for this catalog, can you keep the data there? For this schema, can we keep the data there? We can now do that when we're defining these things via SQL as well, not just through creating them else, well, through Spark and whatnot. PySpark. Cool. We saw that global search available in jobs. You've now got this going into preview. So if you're in the search and you're looking for things, now jobs will appear in that list. So previously you were typing in a thing, it might come up with, well, here's all the tables you've registered to with customers because it's going through Unity Catalog. Now it'll also go, oh, and actually you've got a job called refresh customers. That'll now appear in your list of stuff. Again, that search should just have all types of objects. It's just slowly getting better. Okay, runtime 12's GA. We'll have a look at that runtime in a moment. Terraform provider again getting another update, this time to 1.7. So loads of things in there. Again, just different types of things. You can see the cluster policies in there, service principal setup, just more robustness, more options. I've not gone through it. Go through the changelog. There's lots of things inside there. Okay, finally, the Databricks SQL driver for Go is generally available. So if you're writing in Go, you want to be able to use this. They've put a load of changes into the most recent driver, but it's also no longer preview. It is now GA. So go and have a look at that if you're trying to connect into Databricks SQL from Go. I've not had a play with that. Finally, there's another Azure region that's now supported from Databricks, which is the China North 3. So if you happen to be waiting for that, there you go. You can now go nuts and have a play. So as we said, not huge amounts of things. Some interesting stuff. Again, the ODBC driver and JDBC driver are very important because it's fixing a security hole. Lineage, really cool to see that go GA. We talked about that separately. And apart from that, just another couple of nice updates and some Terraform changes. That's about it. So over on runtime 12. So this is a major runtime change. That tends to come around whenever there's a Spark version change. So this is now supporting Spark version 3.3.1. Hence why it's not 11.4, it's now 12.0, because it's a new version of Spark. What that means is there could be a breaking change involved in here. So you need to be a little bit careful. You need to test your code when moving from 11.3 LTS to 12, just to make sure you're not going to have any breaking changes sneaking in. But then in terms of other features coming in, aside from the change of Spark, so you can now do a few things in terms of, I've not even looked at what the stage level task resource profile is, but if you're doing some stuff, you can do that. And I'll have a look at what actually that does. Looks like it's more to do with information inside the stage level. Interesting. Don't know. Replace where. So replace where is a really useful function whenever you're doing, if you're writing into a Delta table and you were writing a bit of PySpark and you said dataframe.write into this table that's partitioned on this month, replace where month equals this. So rather than overwriting the entire table, you can selectively overwrite just certain partitions. So it's faster than doing a merge because you're not comparing every record inside that partition. You say just get rid of the existing partition and append all the new rows, but only in that partition. Leave the other partitions intact. Essentially, it's a bit like a partition swap that we do in relational databases. You can now do that in SQL. So that used to be a PySpark Scala-y type thing we could do. We can now say insert into this table, replace where. So you can just overwrite chunks of that data to overwrite data, which is cool. Now, it used to be just partitions, and now you can use it as an arbitrary filter expression, which is even better, even cooler. We can now use watermarks. So if you're using Delta live tables and kind of you're trying to run queries, you can now use watermark as part of your thing to say where it's gone up to, which is useful. So if you're doing lots of streaming and using SQL on the streaming side of things, and you've been struggling to actually control where it's starting, where it's stopping, all that kind of stuff, that is very, very useful. PySpark memory profiling. Now, I believe this is just to do with user-defined functions. So this is going through, having a look at essentially inside anything that's running in the PySpark session, actually how much memory is it using? What's it doing? What's it doing inside there? Why is it going so slow? So if you want to see any information about that, if you've got any PySpark UDFs and you're trying to figure out what's going on there, you can use those. Now, generally, if you can avoid using user-defined functions, please do, because they are particularly slow, especially in Python or R. But seems there's been a big request of people trying to do things. They've had to do it. Maybe they got some custom decryption. Maybe they got some custom things that they cannot run using native PySpark. So they've had to write a UDF. So in which case you can go and have a look in there. But yeah, try not to. Dynamic pruning for delete and update. So we've seen this with merge functions. So if you run a merge function, then you say, here's a small bit of data, merge it into that giant bit of data. It'd have a look and go, oh, it's only affecting that small part, and it'd make it more efficient. This is probably the same for the delete and update. So if I had a little update bit of data that was only affecting one particular month, and I said, just go and update this table, and that had 10 years worth of data, but it was partitioned by year and month, it'll be able to prune it and go, well, actually, no, I'm only going to go and run the update against that month of the table. Dynamically pruning down the destination, so it based on what source data is coming in. So that's now available for delete and update, which is very, very cool. And row level delete metrics for partitioned data manipulation in language operations. I've not even seen this. Okay, so when we're doing delete, truncate, and replace where, it's automatically going to be keeping the metrics. So we've seen that in the Delta table, in the logs, when you do a merge, it'll say number of rows updated, number of rows deleted. It'll keep the operational metrics for you. So now this is saying the same thing. So you can access when you've done a delete, a truncate, or a replace where, it's going to be looking at how many rows were deleted, how many rows were inserted. You can get some of that better metrics if you're going and deleting data. Anything that you're going to do that's going to delete data now, it's just giving you better coverage of what actually happened there. Then finally, there was an issue with JSON and autoloader. When certain circumstances, it wouldn't infer the column types, and so just bring everything as in a string, and they have fixed it. So that's good. Aside from that, there's the usual thing especially when changing major versions, there's a ton of library updates. And so if you have real specific library requirements and you're relying on the inbuilt ones inside of the Databricks runtime, be careful, because there's a ton of changes. There's a ton of Spark changes. Here's all the Spark changes that were included in that Spark version up to 3.3.1, which is a gigantic list of bugs and various things. But yeah, no, I do advise you have a bit of a dig through. I'm now going to go through and read what that was about, because I didn't actually notice that before I did this video, but still, every day is a school day. Okay, so that is our giant list of stuff that's happened. So throughout November, December, we saw some UI changes, we saw some functionality changes, generally things appearing in our search bars, so helping us find more objects, basically helping us navigate catalogs, jobs, and all of that thing, and just making sure people can get to the data that they need quicker. We've seen some improvements in Unity Catalog. We've seen some improvements definitely around the Terraform provider for Databricks. We've seen just general bits of functionality appearing in SQL, helping us do various things, do some stuff with streaming, generally making things a little bit faster. And we've got the new runtime in the form of 12.0, which again has that 3.3.1 Spark version. So some stuff, no major ground earth-shattering releases, probably only because I've already covered the column level lineage inside Unity Catalog, but lots of useful stuff all the same, and a ton of library updates. So do take a look, have a look through everything, make sure you are happy with the things before you go and run it in production. Obviously, always test your code, especially when moving a major version from 11 to 12. But apart from that, I think I'm going to leave you to it. And yeah, go prepare to stop working for a little bit. So thanks for watching. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe. And let me know down in the comments what you think about that giant pile of changes. And I'll catch you next time. Cheers.